Hello, great and beautiful people. How you doing? Well, I'm doing okay. Have the past 6 days, right? 7 days been for you? Well, mine has been so up and down. I'm trying to keep my mental health very healthy. You know, they say you check your mental health just like you go for your medical checkup and you get to treat other of your illnesses. So I'm trying to stay safe. I believe you are too. Now, many things during the course of the week, the nation, well, the music society, the music world was thrown into mourning as we lost one of our own, Gani Olarewaju Fasasi, and popularly known by many of us as the Sound Sultan. Sound Sultan reigned in the early 90s, late 90s, early 2000s. He had many popular songs like Motherland, Motherland, yeah, here Chicago. Now I'm selling car, so you could go America. Face me, I face you. Then he also sang Bud Mass. It was really a song that made waves and made headlines during the time. It made many of us who are not very good at mathematics appreciate Bud Mass and the others. Well, just to start our program before we get on to the main discussion for today, let's pay this special tribute to one who lived a life and that was quite impactful. I'm talking about the Sound Sultan. So this tribute, what you're going to see now is a tribute to the man.
This world them plenty. Friends of this people many, so many. Many times plenty multiplier. Many times plenty multiplier. The answer you get now wait till they make come and they cry. The answer you get now wait till they make rich man they mess and leaders they lie. The answer you get now wait till they make young boys and girls join party. Answer you get now wait till they make innocent man rot inside the jail. Get it, and then no be to grant a bail. Get it. Everybody, join Jamajantis, make we solve mathematics. We need about our continent. So, going back saying about maths, we go use to solve mathematics. So follow Jamajantis. So ya carry by it is a natural.
That's how I got signed $1 million.
Whoa. Congratulations, man. That's good stuff. Oh, yeah. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Whoa. Progress, boys. Progress, gentlemen. Progress. Sit down. This is what we're battling. Sit down. Progress.
I prefer to live like a lion in the jungle than to stay like a dog in the city. I prefer to live like a lion in the jungle than to stay like a dog in the city. I prefer to live like a lion in the jungle than stay like a dog in the city. I prefer to live like a lion in the jungle. I prefer to live like a lion in the jungle than to stay like a dog in the city. I prefer to live like a lion in the jungle.
Fire, lele. Fire, lele. Hey, while we are waiting for a miracle. Fire the burn, the burn. We dey pray may oracle. Fire the burn, the burn. We dey pray may fire cool. Fire the burn. miracle. Fire the body, the body, the body.
The Sound Sultan. I remember I interviewed him some many years back. We had quite an interesting time. We took time, we talked about it. He talked about so many things, why he sang the song Motherland, why he believes so much in Nigeria, what's the point running away, how people sell off their things. Just, I don't know, he made quite an impact, like I said, and he actually inspired many of the younger artists who came after him. May his soul continue to find rest. Amen. All right, in continuation of our chat last week, remember last week we had the mental health professional, Dr. Diaba Shaibu, and of course Hawa Ojefo. They were on set and they talked to us extensively about mental health conditions, depression, and how to handle many of these things. Many of your questions kept coming in even after the program. Many of you requested that your questions be answered, and we thought, okay, why don't we do this again? And we decided that, okay, let's get to see someone else, another mental health professional, and this time she's a mental health trainer and an accredited management trainer, a certified emotional intelligence anger management coach. I'm talking about Ikalone.
Yeah.
Udo.
Thank you.
How you doing?
I'm very well, thank you.
Okay, well, just before we get on to talk mental health and depression, which I believe you have so much to share with us.
Yes, I do.
Let's talk, did you listen to the Sound Sultan music growing up back then?
Yes. Mathematics, yes, I did.
Yes,
I
mathematics.
did. Yeah.
Yeah, he was quite, well, we all miss him, right?
Sincerely, I was shocked.
Yes.
Very young.
Yeah, he died pretty...
44.
44, yes. It's pretty... Now, first of all, let me understand. You are a mental health...
First aider.
Yeah. Mental health first aider. I'm trying to
understand
it from what I understand of the
basic first aid in primary school.
How does
it work? Okay, fine. The mental health first aider is someone that steps in immediately. There's a crisis. But how do we know there's a crisis?
That's what I was going to ask.
Yeah, how do you know there's a crisis? Well, as a first aider, you're supposed to know the signs that people are not in a well state. They're not in a good state. They're not in a good state. And it could come by observing the 4 principal things that every well-being should actually have. First of all, a state knowing about your abilities, your own abilities, your power zone, what you carry. Secondly is the state of being able to cope in the midst of the normal stress of life. Okay. And thirdly, your ability to add and contribute to society productively and fruitfully, and that is contribute to the community. That's the 4th one. So the first one is, are you in a state of well-being? Do you know your own abilities? The next one is, are you being productive? What you're doing, is it giving you fulfillment in what you're doing? Then the next one is, are you contributing positively to society? If any of these 4 factors, which the World Health Organization says, if anyone is missing, there's something wrong. And as a first aider, I need to step in and listen to the person to find out what could be the challenge so it does not get into a critical state. Disorder. Yes, just to observe it and to recommend and send to the practitioners like the psychologist and the psychiatrist.
Okay, I'll take quite a number of the questions that we had last week. Okay, this person is asking, can failing WAEC cause depression? Let's take about 3. Okay, let's just take, can failing WAEC cause depression?
Just last week, 7 days ago, a young man called Danladi Shoaib set himself ablaze in Kano, here in Nigeria, just because he had failed the NECO exams 3 times, and this was supposed to be the 4th time. He could not put together enough money to write the exam again. He was 20. That means at this age, his mates who had left school actually would have been graduating. So it's enough to frustrate someone. when the expectations you have, you're not able to achieve them, it's frustrating. He wanted to go to school. He was working in a mechanic shop. He tried all his best to put money together. He couldn't. Yeah.
Okay, that's...
Yes.
Can overthinking cause depression? How can you manage relationship that caused you to be depressed, and when the woman comes back, you don't have feelings for her again, do you?
Are those two questions or one?
I think there are two questions.
Okay. Can overthinking cause depression? Definitely. Overthinking about what? What are your thoughts? What kind of thoughts are you thinking about? If the thoughts make you feel low, it's taking you to a pit of despair. It can make you want to think of end it all. End it all. There's no point. So what you normally tell those people, get out of that pit. Walk out of that room. Don't stay in your room. Don't stay on your bed. Get out, speak to someone, and tell them how you're feeling. Take some fresh air and let the person just listen to you. A problem shared is half solved. So get out and
okay, talk about his relationship with someone. He was depressed after a relationship with someone, and now she's back and he doesn't have feelings.
He was depressed after they broke up?
Yes.
Okay, what caused the depression? Was it from the lady? And she's back. Until they sort out what caused it, they can't be in union. He needs to resolve it. Unresolved issues will still be buried there. So it's very important that he sits down with her to resolve it and grow from there.
All right, I'll take two questions. Good afternoon, Ma. Please, what is your advice for a lady using alcohol to bring herself out of deep thinking? Then the second one is, my name is Ben from Port Harcourt. Can smoking Indian hemp cause mental disorder?
Yes, smoking can do that. It can. It can make you lose consciousness of what you would have done normally, and it's not good for your mental well-being. So for you to stop, you need to be conscious that you want to stop. But you wouldn't know that you need to stop until you know the adverse effects of that. So if somebody actually shows it to you, how it's destroying you right now, you will stop that. Then the question before that was...
Yeah, the question before that is a lady using alcohol to get over depression.
Alcohol is addictive, and most times it doesn't solve the problem, it just suppresses the problem. Wouldn't you like to resolve whatever made you to go out there to seek alcohol? I think we should focus on what caused it, so you'll be happy and free.
Is it just alcohol that, because we talk of alcohol smoking, are there other...
A lot of things are injurious to a mental well-being. Some people go as bad as inhaling maybe the toilet. So even some people take Izu. There's this thing that people that are pregnant take, which can be the white chalk. Yes,
chalk-like thing.
It is addictive because it's addictive. Anything that is addictive, even water, you need to pay attention to what is excessively done. So it's not just alcohol, even the computer. I know of many children who would destroy things in their house because their parents seize their gadgets from them. There's something wrong somewhere. So parents need to control that so that those things don't harm the child from learning. It affects them in various ways.
All right.
I'm saying too many things.
No, you are making so many points, and there's so many things I need to ask you. While we were speaking off camera, you said that children can get depressed as young as 5, 6, 7.
Of course, as young as 5 years old. I actually have experienced it. Yes, I've experienced it. And the truth is that word depression, I don't want people to look at it as, are you depressed? For heaven's sake, look at the symptoms and signs. That's what as a first aider, I look out for. When the things that a child used to do before, a child that used to come first in class or used to be very active, all of a sudden is withdrawn. There are some basic things that make children to be depressed, even as young as 5. And there's a particular questionnaire called the ACE, right? These are 10 questions that anyone can basically go through to know whether you are critically ill mentally. And the first one has to do with yourself. Have you ever been verbally abused? Somebody speaks down at you and the words, you feel the person wants to hit you. Secondly, have you ever been physically abused, maybe beaten, kicked, and things like that? Thirdly, have you ever been sexually abused or an attempted rape All those things can affect you mentally. Then the fourth one is, have you ever felt unloved? When you feel that nobody loves you, and maybe they keep comparing you with somebody else, and you feel dejected. Or have you been in a state whereby you don't feel that you have the necessary things of life? Maybe like children in the IDP camp, definitely they have some traumatic things going on because they're not with their families, and those kind of things. So those ones are directly at you. Then the other 5 questions are, do you have parents?
Okay, these ones are for...
There are actually 10 questions, that relate directly to you.
I'm going to see them online. Maybe.
Not really.
Well, I want to ask about what you're holding. What's the black thing?
Okay, yes. Okay, so, well, I actually experienced a lot of post-traumatic stress disorders. I never knew that I had it until in the year 2018, somebody saw me online and said, somebody that was my classmate in school, and he'd reached out to me. And he said to me on Messenger, Facebook, Ikalo, how are you? I was trying to recall, who was that? He said, can't you remember in primary 4, in primary school, that I used to come first, right? And I never knew. I forgot. And he told me that I gave him a run for his time in school, that he went to his brothers and told his brothers that there's this girl that came first term in that primary 4, and second CA test, was CA test. But after some time, he didn't see me anywhere close to first 10 anymore, position in class. And he was looking, because I made him to read harder, because nobody had ever beaten him in class. But he was looking out for me when he came first, and I was nowhere amongst first 10. And he said, he was wondering, did she have any post-traumatic stress disorders? This guy spoke to me 2018. Then I didn't even know what PSTD was. And I listened to him, and I wanted to hear more about my past. I had forgotten about my past. So when somebody was asking that, can you forget things? I forget things a lot.
And that is what? That's post-traumatic,
It
or
is a way, it's one of the coping mechanisms where you don't want to remember what happened at a particular time. So when I was studying about PTSD, and I realized that, oh, is that what happened to me? People that know me, what they hear me say recently is, oh, I used to be very shy, I used to be very timid. But there's a particular part of me that keeps forgetting how strong and powerful I used to be. And that is a state of keeping me down, low. So it causes so much depression.
I want to understand what you have here.
Okay, so this is actually me, my son, telling me that what I used to do to him makes him commit suicide every day.
No way.
Sincerely, this happened in the year 2017. He was 7 years, yes.
He was 7?
Yes, he was 7. So as young, yes, this is 7. And it was a journey for me to understand myself, to understand my children.
Okay.
So what he wrote here was that he used to hear me talk to my own siblings, his auntie and uncle, about his attitude. So my son has this hyperactivity. He's always never sitting still. And I didn't understand that. So I always would tell him, sit still. So when we're having things in the house, maybe learning, he will leave the room, go outside, make funny faces, and distract all the children there. I felt that was an issue. I even felt that I felt somebody had bewitched me. Yes, I said, I have 3. I've never seen this before. What happened to me? That was sincere. But I now found out that, okay, this particular child of mine is very sensitive to attention. So he was doing all that to actually gain attention, but I didn't know. So but in an attempt to put him in shape to be like the others, I was killing him softly.
Okay.
And so he writes here that before, when his elder ones went to school, I used to ask him to do things, and he felt like killing himself. Sometimes don't allow me to talk before me, in an attempt to tell him to respect the seniors. Let me talk. And he says, you don't allow me to talk before you. You take my laptop. You say I should do what I am not supposed to do. I wonder. When you talk to our family members on the phone, you say I don't do work, only the sibling's name. But I am doing work. it makes me feel like I want to commit suicide. So I was in a training session when my son was distracting, that was that year. And I decided to calm down. I didn't want to lose it. So I now told him to take a paper, write exactly how you feel. And he wrote all this. I stopped my session. I went on my knees. I started begging my son. I said, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I just started begging him.
And you realized that he was actually helping out in the house, but
the truth is,
never really noticed?
The truth is, when you have these parents, when we have these perfectionists, when we keep comparing children, it's dangerous because they're not the same.
Okay, can you don't hold your thoughts there, and you can be part of this conversation. Send us your questions if you have any. So our phone line 081-177-82020 is actually showing on your screen right now. We would like you to contribute, ask your questions as regards depression or mental health, and we'll see how much of these we can take. Very quickly, our crew went out on the street and we sought to know from people on the street what they understand by mental health. Because sometimes when you just say mental health, everyone say, he's gone gaga, he's gone gaga.
Yeah.
Anyhow, we just thought to ask people on the street what they understand by mental health.
To me, I look at it as someone that behave abnormal, maybe due to depression or someone that is into drugs.
I think depression, basically depression. And this can actually happen in the form of disappointment, not achieving some set target for yourself, and accumulation of stress too, sometimes. Pressure, psychological pressure.
Being a black person has a lot of trauma itself. We are not taught to cry, to express our feelings. We shut down so many emotions, and there's so much emotional imbalance growing up due to lack of this, the environment. But if you look around you, you know that virtually almost every Nigerian is sick on the head. Because even if you are not sick, the society makes you sick. You get mental illness is a very critical issue because I'm a peer educator. I did a program about 3 years about mental health. Some of the issues you look at are things that affect us in our relationship, in our workplace, how you interact with the society. Some of the things are not even normal.
People with mental illness mostly rarely remember things, and someone with mental illness rarely acts within the confines of what we take as being normal in the society. So there are reactions that is being expected from us when something happens to us, but someone that is at the extreme edge of does not really correlate his own actions with when something happens to what the societal norm is.
When you say mental health, it means someone's mind not being healthy, as it were, in the way it is supposed to be. Maybe his thought patterns are not straight. Maybe he's having some kind of trauma, and so many issues that affect the way he reasons concerning life situations.
When somebody is being diagnosed with mental illness, first of all, we have to see whether is it hereditary, whether it's from the family background. If it is not from the family background, definitely it is due to depression or overthinking and all that. And that one can be easily, after the diagnosis, it can be easily be treated because there are some certain psychotropic medicine that he or she should be using along the line so that illness can be, brought to the barest minimum.
All right, one of the guests we just saw on the street asked if it talked about hereditary. Can mental or health issues be hereditary?
Okay, you know how it works is when a child who has been in a family or an environment that has experienced any of those things I listed out,
Earlier, yeah.
the child is very likely to have it in him to also display it to his own children.
Ah, okay.
So that's how the circle goes. And if anybody behaves that does not behave properly, the person needs to resolve the issue. That's why everyone needs to take this issue of mental health very importantly. Just like going to school to tell us their genotype, I feel every school should ensure they find out the mental status of each child. It will help them to know how to relate to each child. Instead of them maybe beating the children, I think that the children don't conform, they might find out that there's some basic things from the home that's not allowing the child to learn properly. Even before you employ someone, you need to find out the state of the person's well-being mentally.
Yeah.
It's very important. So you know how to relate with the person. The person might be traumatized and not be able to give you the best of himself at work.
Okay, let's take some questions. I have a junior one of 18 years and he's hot-tempered. What should I do? Another one, is depression contagious? Considering a frustrated mother who beats her child and forces the child not to cry, the child later becomes a leader and refuses to listen to the suffering of the people.
Like I said, whatever you experience, without you know it's in your subconscious mind. You learn from your environment. What you see your mom do, without you know, it just comes out when you grow up. So it's very important that as parents, we need to caution or catch ourselves and hold ourselves so we don't do those things that will influence our children.
Okay. My name is Keitan from Ikorodu. My question is that can comparison of not being rich like your friends cause you to be depressed?
Yes. Yes, it can.
Okay, yes. I like that straight up answer. Okay, who is this? All right, but just before we get to take a little more, many of the questions we had last week and some of the questions coming and asking, how are you sure some of these mental issues are not spiritual attack? Some are asking, maybe it's from the village and all that. So there are a couple of questions like that. So during the week, I caught up with a psycho-spiritual therapist. He's a priest. He actually asked many of those questions that you asked about spirituality, mental issues, and all the attacks. And it was quite an interesting conversation. First of all, you are a psycho-spiritual. Well, you have a very long title. Can you please explain what? Say it again. Psycho-spiritual
therapy
and counseling. Okay, tell us. You as a psycho-spiritual therapist and counselor, what's all that about?
Psycho-spiritual therapy and counseling. This is where we do a lot of work. When somebody comes with some kind of symptoms of mental health problem, we are also able to look at it from the spiritual, both from the psychological and from the spiritual perspective, you know. And there are a number of assessments that can actually be done because the symptoms often, you know, are similar and can be confusing. For example, somebody comes, tells you, you know, I hear voices. Psychologically, this could be indications of maybe hallucination, the first thing that will come to your mind. But from the spiritual point of view, another thing that comes to your mind, you know, this voice that this person is hearing, what is the content of the voice? So at that point, you begin your assessment based on what you are hearing the person tell you, and also what you are also, you know, hearing, perceiving from the person you are interacting with. Ours is often a thorough assessment. First of all, we view it from the cultural perspective. From which culture is this person coming from? And then also there is this, after looking at the cultural aspect of it, we look at the spiritual aspect of it. The person in question, is he religious? What are his religious beliefs or values? What are his cultural values or beliefs? So you are able to look at all those things and then understanding within the context of it. So when you look at all those things, you know, you are beginning to put one or two things together and said, okay, where do we begin our assessment from?
Okay, let's take a picture of a woman has a son. Suddenly he starts acting strange, he starts speaking to himself. The psychologist or the psychiatrist might say, okay, he's stressed, he's depressed, maybe that's why he's acting that way. What would you say?
The first thing that will come to my mind, how did it begin? So I get to hear from the parents or the relations, to hear from their own side of the story. How did the whole thing begin? You know, what are their own suspicions? Because it's good to hear from them also. But while I do that, I try to also look at the patient and then hear him. Looking at the patient or the client, you know, I'm also looking at the, you know, both the verbal and the non-verbal, you know, communication. And then I go on to do my own investigation. You know, I do my own investigation. In fact, for us, there is what we call, you know, biopsychosocial spiritual analysis that we do. Now we begin to look at, you know, the biological background of the individual. We look at the social background of the individual. We look at the cultural background of the individual. And then we do also the physical assessment, you know, of the person in question. We believe in prayers. So when we do our own evaluation or assessment, and then we see some signs that point towards spiritual attack, you know, we pray. We recommend prayers, we pray, but again, we try to also involve the family in the whole process, the whole healing process. We also do some studies on African culture. So we try to look at the different, you know, cultural beliefs and values. We try to study witchcraft. We try to study, you know, all this traditional medicine. So our knowledge of it, you know, helps us to understand, you know, the nitty-gritties of these things. And then, so when somebody comes and he's discussing with us, for example, when, let's say, you meet a white man who is a psychologist and you talked about seeing this cat who disturbs you every night, and then, you know, for him, he begins to wonder, what does it really mean, you know? But, and the person tells you that, you know, this is, you know, a witch or a wizard or whatever that is coming in the form of a cat, you know. One who doesn't understand the African culture can easily dismiss that, you know. But we who understand the African culture, first of all, we've tried to also look at it, you know, what does it mean to you? In your culture, seeing a cat, what does it mean?
All right, now we understand the way religion, spirituality, psychology, and all that work together. So sometimes I think we need to look at this. This is Africa, where I guess I understand we're in Africa, where we actually look at spirituality in many things that happen to us. All right, if you don't join us, the program is the Medley Show, and we're talking depression and mental health for now. All right, and I have my guest, Ikalone. I keep wanting to say Ikalone. All right.
It's okay.
All right, so quickly, you are a mental health trainer. I sometimes wonder when people...
First aider.
First aider. I keep saying trainer. First aider. Now, have you had any experience? Because you may need to understand...
Yes. Okay, so I have a personal experience, right? For my own son, I was able to help him because I realized that I had a problem. So I went to go and fix myself. I checked in to a mental health place, not to, no, people say, oh, I went for further knowledge to understand why I had an issue with my baby. And right now, I understood that, oh, I also had traumatic childhood experiences that I had not resolved. I had the challenges as a child, verbal abuse, all those physical abuse and all those things. So I didn't deal with it. So I saw myself, without knowing, reacting to this boy instead of dealing with myself. But when I found myself, when I went for further studies to understand why I behave in this way, I now apologize to them. Now I negotiate with my son. I understand that he's very auditory. Words affect him. So he needs to be reaffirmed, loved, hugged. So I told the teachers, I always educate them about my son, that he's special, he's different, he won't really sit still. But if you want him to do something productive, give him the responsibility to keep silence in the class. If you tell him to be a class captain, he will ensure that there's no noise in the class.
All right, so good, similar question. Well, maybe we've answered it already. Good afternoon, madam. Please, how can I handle my 8-year-old daughter who always seeks attention and distracts other students in her school and she forgets things easily?
I would love you to please go and find out about your parenting style, what you're doing, so you can fix it from yourself and extend it to your daughter, then she'll be good.
All right, this person is saying, I have a junior one of 18 years old who is so hot-tempered. What should I do?
Anger management, there's something that is there's something that is making that child, is feeling something, he's reacting to something, so he needs to go for anger management classes. Yes.
Okay, how does sleeping under noisy environment affect one's mental health? Victor John from Nasarawa.
It depends on what is peace to you. If you are not at peace within yourself, you are disturbed. So you need to, it's because of the way you want to receive the world. You love some quietness. So that is going to affect you. And when your body is not okay, it affects your mind too.
Good afternoon. My name is Kitan from Ikorodu. Have I taken this question? My question is that comparing yourself with your rich friends, can it cause depression and mental?
Even with siblings, it can even make a sibling to want to kill another sibling because the parents don't know how to manage the different temperaments. Even a child that is maybe it has a health challenge and the parents just keep paying attention, it gives, there's a likelihood that the other child feels neglected. It's one of the things under the ACE questionnaire we need to watch out for. When you feel that they love him more than the other child, it affects.
It affects, yeah.
Yes.
Hello, presenter. Please, what is depression, and is there any difference between depression and overthinking? And lastly, if the situation around you causes you to be depressed, what's your way out?
Okay,
let's just take difference between depression and overthinking.
Overthinking on what? What are you thinking about? So depression is when, let me just put it without any dictionary, my own definition. Depression is when you feel so low, like there's a pit and you're just there and you don't want to get up. There's no reason to live another day. It's a very low state. No need to come out of it. That's a bad state to be in.
All right, I'll just take one more question before we let you go.
All right.
Human being is created with immense curiosity for desires. What happens if parents' environment and social... Okay, I don't know. I didn't get a question, but someone else is asking about... Oh, okay. Anyhow, let's just, someone is asking, please try to mind your language when you send in messages so that I can actually read it. Okay. All right, any last word from you before you leave?
Yes, please. I would like everyone to actually go for a mental health checkup. The first time I went for a mental health checkup, I never knew. I found out that I was severely depressed. That raised my alarm, and I got enough training to help me overcome my unresolved childhood experiences. So I'm good now.
Ikalone Udo, thank you very much. A mental health first aider. I would like to do that first
Everybody
aid
needs to have it.
Everybody needs to have
yes.
it, yes, because around people we need to be the first responders to this mental
yes, even schools,
depression.
Offices, yes.
Even employment offices.
I said employers need to have it to know the state of their staff before they recruit them. It's not about the qualifications. No, no, no.
True, very, very true. How we should have a lot of time to talk about this. Yes,
well.
I know how time flies, right? All right, thank you very much for coming around. Well, just make sure you keep your mental health in good check all the time. Going to see a counselor does not mean you are running mad. It just means that
you're doing the right thing.
You're doing the right thing. All right. We know about postpartum or stress disorder in postpartum in women who give birth, but we also should know that men also get to suffer these things sometimes. And how does that happen? This skit you're about to see is going to tell you.
Hey, bro. Mide. Ha? Hey.
Kevin, what's up now?
Were you sleeping?
Man, I wish I was. I really wish.
Are you sure you are fine?
Nothing.
Okay, now no problem. I just said I should check on you now. I'll be heading out now. Yeah.
Thank
you.
Now,
I will see you later.
Thank you, man. All right. Take care.
Mide, what's up?
Man, just deal with guys. They call me now.
How you doing? Bros, you are not fine, Joe. You know they lie. What did they do you? Eh? I know you are not fine. I know something is wrong with you, bro. Eh? You have been distancing yourself from us. You know they follow us watch ball again. Eh? You know they follow us watch football. What happened?
Kevin, salary cut.
Salary cut. Just salary cut. Just.
I have a baby.
Oh, you have a baby.
Do you have an idea of how much diapers?
Okay, apart from that, is there any other thing?
You know my lifestyle now. You know I want my son to be proud of me. Yes, it's bothering me. Seriously.
Your wife know about this?
She doesn't know about it. She's very happy. I don't want to spoil her.
You see, if I no ask you now, you no go tell me, abi? Eh? You no go tell me if I no ask you. Just dey do it on your own. Good news for you. I have a way out for you. Yes. I have a psychologist which you can reach out to. Yes, she's going to help you. She will advise you, talk to you. You know? Eh? Why can't they look at me like that?
Kevin.
Eh?
Am I mad?
No, bro.
But do I have a mental problem?
No. You don't have to be mad before you say psychologist.
Okay.
You don't have to be mad.
Then what else?
She's just going to advise you and put you through. Bro, I got you on this.
Are you sure it's going to?
You are good, brother. Trust me. Trust me. Trust me. You are good, okay? No problem. Alright. Talk later now.
Postpartum. Isn't that depression suffered by mothers following childbirth?
In some cases, men are affected. You complained about not sleeping since the birth of your son, right?
Yes, sir.
And since then, you only sleep for hours and wake up earlier than your desired time, which resulted to your low daily time energy, and that you no longer participate in sports, you no longer have time for friends and family. You're finding it difficult to focus on work and also isolate yourself from family and friends. You do? Have you had any suicidal thoughts?
No.
I think isolating yourself from friends and family is not an option, Mide. Yeah, you need them now more than ever before. Let them go through this with you, Mr. Made. Maybe you should talk to your wife about it.
Okay.
Yeah, she can be of help. Yeah.
So, am I continuing the therapist session with you?
Oh, yes, you have to.
All right, if you're not joining us, we've been talking depression and our mental health. We now know that there are many ways that you can actually be depressed. So you have to, as much as possible, talk to somebody. Better still, if you can get to see a therapist, that'll be fine. During the time of COVID actually made many people depressed, sitting at home. Many people sometimes with the fear that they have COVID, even when it just seems like malaria. Some people are actually depressed. So, well, we are going to switch things a little different now, away from depression. We're going to talk about our health. How healthy are you? That is very important. Now, do you know that the air around you is many times not pure, especially when you are in a house? Do you know, of course, there's another thing we want to talk about, the fact that many of you want to know your COVID status, your state, but you can't go for the test because the figures are not really pocket friendly. Anyhow, to talk about how to stay safe, how to stay healthy, I have with me the MD and CEO of Bunde International Diagnostic Limited. He is Robert Udeaga, or rather Bob Udeaga. Bob, thank you for coming around.
It is my pleasure. Thank you, Cecilia, for giving me the opportunity to be here.
Now, is it really bad? Like the air, come on now, I'm not perceiving anything bad in the air. So why would you say the air in my house, in my car is bad? Really?
Correct. The only way to know is to measure the quality of air in your home, in all indoor spaces. It could either be very unhealthy, it could be unhealthy, it could be unhealthy for sensitive individuals. That's people with asthma or some other chronic situation. And it could also be moderate. And finally, you do want it to be good. According to the mirror we have here, it has all those graduated, and you can go ahead and read the quality of air here.
The quality of air here is good enough. So wait, when it's bad, what do I see?
You will see it very unhealthy or
no,
unhealthy.
No,
and that is not the case here. It's saying that it's moderate.
Yes.
The quality of air here is not good like it should be, but it's moderate.
Is anybody's house ever going to be really good? I mean, at the first time you take this into a house that is supposedly big, fine, and beautiful.
Yes.
What do I first see? Do I get to see almost immediately perfect?
You will usually see very unhealthy.
You see very unhealthy.
You will see very unhealthy or unhealthy.
Wow.
Yes, and one of the things to consider is formaldehyde. That is the property that they use to make paint. And in that, if I can check the formaldehyde here in this room, it's saying that it's healthy. Your formaldehyde in this room is healthy, which is very good, because that's my biggest concern as to what did they put in the paint that you use to paint your house.
Okay, yes, I was just going to talk about that. When we get to paint our house, there's this smell from the paint.
Correct.
How is it?
Those are emitting gases into the air. There are more than 70 gases in the air that wants to hurt you. And one of those gases is the virus that causes COVID. It's all the pathogens. They are all in the air. In the world of science, we call it particle matter. Particle matter. It can either be 2.5, which means it is light enough to be suspended in the air. It could either be 10.0, that means it's heavy enough to fall on surfaces. This is why they want you to disinfect surfaces, but you cannot disinfect the air. And that is where Bundi International Diagnosis has some of the little wonders.
Okay, from this very little thing, which actually right now, reading that air here is healthy, good, it's reading healthy, right?
Yeah, well, you are reading the formaldehyde.
Okay.
We have not gotten your, let me check your air quality again.
Okay,
it is still moderate.
Okay, so in a house, when I get to put this in a house and it's reading unhealthy, very red.
Yes.
How long do I keep it for it to actually purify my house to be pretty
Well,
healthy?
this is not the equipment that purifies your house. We have the equipment here in the studio.
This just measures it.
Yeah, this is your measurement. This measures the humidity in your house. It gives the temperature of your air conditioning or the room temperature in your house. This equipment will give you that. But the equipment we have in partnership with an American company is actually what purifies your room.
Has it been approved by the regulatory authorities in Nigeria? I mean,
Well, you don't need a regulatory authority here for that, but we have all the certification from NASA. This is an old technology that was used by the space agency in America. It is only COVID that wizened the scientists to put the whole technology in the small box that we call Bundi Active Pure Air Purifier. What it does is it goes into the air to attack the virus and attack the pathogens, attack everything that wants to hurt you, including odors. You walk into a bank, you feel the stench in the bank. You put our product in the bank, within a few hours, all the stench will go away, because it's going after all the gases in the air.
Yeah, and usually I think when you are in an enclosed place, because many times we like to live this very luxurious life.
Yes.
Air conditioners everywhere.
Correct.
No cross ventilation.
Correct.
Is that bad air?
No, it's not bad air, but when it's measured, I guarantee you it will not show good quality air, because our product is not an air filter. It is an air purifier. There is a difference. Air filters just circulate the air in the room. Our product, which came out as a result of COVID. Remember, this technology has been around for more than 70 years. But the scientists, because of COVID, decided to put the whole thing they give the astronauts in the air to breathe quality air. They put it in a box. And that is what we have in partnership with this American company. The product is just less than a year old. And I have the privilege to bring it here so that Nigerians can breathe quality air, can test the air quality in their room, in their mosque, in churches, in banking halls, in fact, in all areas of public
So
assembly.
I can go into a store. I can't get to buy it. Like I can actually buy it or order
Well,
it?
you would have to go to our website.
Oh, you have to go to your website.
bundiactivepure.com.
Okay, very quickly, let's touch on the one you're working on, the one to test for COVID.
Correct.
Yeah, because I don't know if you know the price to test for COVID in
I do
in the
know.
labs.
I do know, and I think it's very exorbitant.
Yes.
The price to make a COVID test,
Almost
and with
$100.
all the burdens of traveling in the COVID environment that we're in, businesses are suffering, and there's a lot of people that have been laid off. And now when people have to travel, they have to pay $49,500, depending on whether you do it online or you do it physically. But just like we did many years ago, our company, we were able to crash the price of testing for HIV in this country from $3,500 to $500.
Oh, was that your company?
But now, yes, that was my company, the first indigenous manufacturer of HIV test kits. The same thing we did 15 years ago, we are able to do it. It's pretty much the same technology. Our facility is CGMP compliant, and we are able to make COVID tests in Nigeria and be able to sell it under 5,000 so that people traveling can get this test done and submit it as a result. In all the centers, we are ready to partner with the federal government. We are ready to have, in partnership with federal government, to procure these tests and make it available. And listen to this very well. It's very important. All healthcare givers should be getting tested because they're coming in contact with people. There's what we call contact tracing in this COVID era that we find ourselves in. They need to be tested at least once a week.
Okay, right now, are you in talks with NAFDAC and the others?
Our COVID test is an antigen test. Okay. It's not an antibody test.
Okay.
It's an antigen test which will be able to precisely tell you there is a COVID situation going around in this specimen. So NAFDAC, we are going through the process.
Okay,
it's a process to get it approved. But because we're CGMP compliant, we've made HIV tests, we've made malaria tests, we've made tuberculosis tests, we've made typhoid tests, and these are all approved by NAFDAC. This one will not be a problem.
And it's I can easily use it myself, or I need
Absolutely. We're going to make sure that Nigerians can buy this test. It's a rapid test. It's a 15, 20 minutes test. You can buy it and at least rule out when you have some of those symptoms for COVID. You cannot taste food. You cannot smell anything. At least you can use our test to rule out that COVID is not the situation here.
All right, something I would like to have, like, seriously, I really see that's your air purifier.
That's right, and I'm also wearing, this is very important, what I'm wearing is a mobile air purifier. Your personal space is the length of your arm and the circumference thereof. When you are wearing this, you are able to protect yourself, public spaces, people are not obeying social distancing. You can protect yourself when someone is speaking to you, their spittle hits you. The ionization process in what I'm wearing protects me and protects my personal space so that whether the person is wearing a mask or not wearing a mask, you are able to be protected. And this is very affordable.
Bob, Robert,
Yes.
Thank you very much for getting to bring this and talk to us about this. It's very important that we know that we need to purify the air around us.
Correct.
Because we just may think that, it looks pure, okay, I can't find any particles, it's fine.
That's right.
But really, there are many of these particles that we need
That's
to...
right, they are
All right,
there.
thank you very much for coming around. I really hope I would get each of these, hopefully.
Let's see. Will get one.
All right, and for many of you out there, if you can try to, once you get, you can visit the website, you can try to look through it, and maybe you want to get it, or you want to, as much as possible, in your own way, try to stay safe, stay clean, and breathe in purified air. All right, this is the much we'll take on the Medley Show for today. Thank you very much for being there and completing this very beautiful picture. You know what? We'll do this again in another 7 days. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.